Got my piping hot coffee. And I'm taking my morning walk because I decided, y'all, that I want to get down to the weight, my health, what I felt like when I was my most, cut up, my body looked its best, is when I was like 210, 220. And now that I'm like 240, but I'm bulky because I'm lifting weights and I was lifting like I had like a bodybuilder workout for a minute, and that bodybuilder workout caused me to put on weight, more, muscle weight, not so much fat weight, but muscle weight. And if you guys don't know, muscles are heavier than fat. And so I try to cut back on my weightlifting and even try to watch my diet and trying to incorporate more cardio into my workouts. But that scale still ain't moving, and I know it's not moving because of the muscle. So what I decided to do, I said, okay, I'm gonna up this up a little bit. I'm gonna jog. So I'm gonna still do my jogs. I'll try to get them in twice a week. But then every day that I'm not jogging, I'm gonna go for a walk. And this is what I'm doing. So, because I want to get back to 210, 220 when I was cut up. Shout out to everybody that's joining me on this live. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe because YouTube ain't gonna pump my channel like I need to be pumped. Only y'all. I'm dependent on y'all. So as you guys can see from the title of this video is I gotta leave Los Angeles because I can't afford to be here. But let me give you guys a little backstory on how I got to Los Angeles. So I'm originally from Oakland, California, born and raised. And around 3 years ago, I decided to get into the trucking business because I couldn't find any work with my degrees. What's up, y'all? I couldn't find any work. So I decided, hey, I need to do something. I got people that depended on me. So I said, what can I do? This was around the COVID time. Well, right around COVID. Yeah, right around when COVID was ending. So I just said, you know what? I can get my CDL, and that's the way I can get some money. So I got my CDL, and I started going over the road. And the first few companies that I worked for was all over the road. That's called OTR. OTR is when you're driving from state to state. That's pretty much how you got to start when you get into trucking. You can't go, if you very rarely get to go local because, that's usually reserved for people that got more experience. So most of the time you're going to go over the road. And so I started off over the road, and then I got a local job, luckily, in Central California. But that only lasted for a while because I'm like, I can't afford to stay here with what they paying me. So I said, hey, can you guys transfer me to Las Vegas? They end up not being able to transfer me to Las Vegas. So I just moved to Las Vegas anyway because it was cheaper. So basically, during this 3 or 4 year period, me and my family was kind of like moving around. We didn't really have stability as far as like, because I was moving around. We were moving around because of the cost of living. First, we moved to Atlanta. Atlanta didn't work out because I just couldn't find any work in Atlanta like that paid good. We were staying in the most expensive area in Atlanta, which is called Buckhead, and I couldn't find no work there. So I was like, man, I'm not renewing my lease. I'm just going back to California because that's where I'm from. So I went back to California. We landed in the Bay. I had my CDLs. I got a local job out there by Tracy, Lodi, in those areas. If you guys know that Central Valley in Northern California. So I got a local job out there, and it was cool. But the only problem was, shit, I wasn't making enough to afford a place to stay. I literally, the income that I was making didn't qualify me for any places in that area, in that region. So basically, me and my family were living in Airbnbs, and I couldn't qualify for nothing because my employer wasn't paying me enough. So I'm like, man, I can't continue doing this. Like, this is getting, tiresome, not only for me, but for my family, because we literally moving from Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb, every week. And I'm like, this shit is crazy. So I'm like, what? We got to get up out of here. We got to go. So I said, okay, let's go to Vegas. Vegas is cheaper. And I asked my employer actually had a terminal in Vegas. So I'm like, hey, can you guys transfer me to Vegas? They was like, no, we don't have any jobs in Vegas. I'm like, forget it. We going anyway. You know what I'm saying? I got a loan from somebody. Somebody gave us a loan. So I'm like, I'm not gonna let this loan go to waste by staying here and wasting it on Airbnbs. So we just went to Vegas. Vegas was cool, but the job market it sucked, man. If you're not working in the casinos, trucking, it wasn't really good out there. So I end up me and my family, we end up getting evicted in Vegas, and I end up going back over the road because, hey, if I got a CDL, we can live in this truck. It may not be the best circumstances, but at least we have a place to stay by living in the truck. And so we went over the road, and we were living out of the truck, and it was working, but he wasn't paying us enough. So let's see it come. So long story short, that lasted for like 8 months. We lived in the truck for like 8 months, going from state to state, all over the U.S. That employer found out that it wasn't just me in the truck, and that caused me to lose my job. That caused them to basically, what they did is their headquarters was in Omaha, Nebraska. So what they did is they got me one last load. They was like, hey, we was like in the middle. We was like stuck in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, we were stuck in Denver. I was kind of like stuck in Denver, Colorado, because they kept giving me loads around that area. And they was like, hey, is somebody in the truck with you? And I'm like, no, they're just me. And they was like, oh, well, we got some suspicions that somebody is in the truck with you. So what they did is they sent me to the terminal in Denver, and I didn't have no idea what they was planning, what they was about to do, but they had somebody at that terminal come and check the truck. And luckily I was able to stall them out. I'm like, damn, they was like, hey, we need to check your truck. I'm like, man, look, man, I'm naked. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically I stalled them out, and they was like, okay, well, we coming back in like 10 minutes. Get yourself ready or whatever, but we need to check your truck. So I was able to get them out of the truck and hide them somewhere, basically. and they came to check the truck. But I guess the guy that checked the truck, he was looking at the stuff that was in the truck, and he came to the assumption, the conclusion that it wasn't based on the stuff that he found in the truck. He came to the conclusion that it wasn't just me in the truck. So what they did is they said, okay, this guy, he more than likely got somebody in the truck with him. We about to fire him. You know, basically that's what they said. They about to fire him, but we need our truck back. And now keep in mind, I'm in Denver, Colorado. The main terminal is in Omaha, Nebraska. So they basically got me a load to go from Denver, Colorado to Omaha, Nebraska, so that they can get their truck back and also make some money off of me. That was the plan. He's like, hey, we don't just want just to drive the truck back with no load. So we'll get a load, we'll get some money, and then we'll get our truck back. And so, long story short, me and my family end up being stranded in Omaha, Nebraska. Right around the same time that we were stranded in Omaha, Nebraska, I was still, during that whole time that I was working OTR, over the road, I was still looking for local jobs. So I never stopped looking for work whenever I had the opportunity, you know, on my laptop to look for jobs. So right around that same time, when I got fired and I was in Omaha, Nebraska, a company called me, JB Hunt. JB Hunt called me and they said, hey, we got a local position for you in Los Angeles, California. I'm like, oh shit, you know, yeah, what's up? And they like, okay, it's a local position. The pay is about, you'll probably make about 60 to 70,000 a year. That's a lie. They always lie. They're gonna tell you that you're gonna make $60,000 or $70,000 a year. You usually don't, because they can't predict how many loads you're gonna get. But that's how they get you in. But I didn't care. Shit, I needed work. And me and my family were stuck in Omaha, Nebraska. We were literally stuck out there with no way to get back. And we had all our stuff, at least all the stuff that we could pack with us. We had it all with us. So I said, okay, yes, I'll take the position. I'll take the job. He said, okay, good. Well, I told him, I'm like, hey, but listen, I'm stuck in Omaha, Nebraska. You know, I told him the whole situation. He was like, well, listen, if you want this job, you got to make it to Los Angeles by Friday. You got to figure out a way to get to Los Angeles by Friday, because if you don't get to Los Angeles by Friday, you're not going to get this job. So I said, damn, what we going to do? I started thinking, I'm like, hey, we need to call somebody to borrow some money. We need to call whoever we can call to borrow some money so we can get some plane tickets, so we can get back to LA and I can get this job and I can start working and making money immediately. And so we end up getting that money and bought our tickets and got back to LA. The first day when I landed in LA, I had no damn money. I had no money. Y'all, I had no money. I had no place to stay. I had nobody I can call and say, hey, can we come stay there? So our first night in LA, I had just $100 left. And I rented a car through Turo. I rented a car through Turo, and we slept in the car after we came off the airport. So me and my family slept in a small ass car when we got off the plane in Los Angeles. And by the grace of God, the next day, well, when was it? It was like 2 days later, that company paid me my last check. So the last check was like $400. That was it. But it was $400, and it was enough for me to rent an Airbnb for a week on clearing. I use clearing so you can make, weekly payments. So I booked a room for a week, and that enabled me to start work. I started the job with JB Hunt, and by the next week I had my first check. So I was like, by the grace of God, the shit worked out. But I stayed with JB Hunt for like a year, And the whole time I was there, you know, I told you guys, I have my degrees. I have a degree in business with an option in finance, and I have a AA degree in business. So the whole time I was there, I was trying to, apply for office positions because I'm qualified for those office roles. I have the education, I have the qualifications, I have the experience, but they kept blocking me, man. They literally, the office, everybody in that office was Hispanic, or they were Asian. That was it. There were no black people in that office. Not one. The only black people that work there were drivers. That was it. But I'm like, I'm I'm more than just a driver, and I'm not trying to be cocky, but I got the education. What's up, y'all? I got the education. I'm more than just a driver. I'm qualified for these positions. So I kept applying myself. I kept applying. All the while, I'm still working as a truck driver. So long story short, y'all, I end up applying internally. For over 200 roles. Over 200 roles I applied for internally, and I was rejected by them all. And when I asked for constructive feedback, they could never give it to me. They could never tell me, oh, well, this is what you were missing. This is what you were missing. And I kept asking them, I'm like, hey, tell me, what can I do to qualify myself for these positions that I'm applying for? Tell me, do I need to go and get some certifications? Do I need to go get some degree? Whatever I need to do, let me know. I'm open to receiving constructive criticism or constructive information that would enable me to be qualified for these positions. And they would never, even though I was qualified. Matter of fact, I was overly qualified for the positions, but they would never give me any constructive feedback. So what I did, I complained to HR. Now, when I complained to HR, this kind of made, excuse me, y'all, this caused the heat to be put on me. So now I complained because HR was in Arkansas. HR, the head, the corporate office of JB Hunt is in Arkansas. So when I complained to the corporate headquarters in Arkansas, this caused the heat to be put on me. So now my direct managers, and I told you the whole office is all Hispanic. Now they started to target me. They started to really fuck with me and make the work environment very, very toxic for me. And I kept complaining. So the HR, they did their investigation. This is internal. The internal HR, they did their investigation. And of course, they're going to say, oh, there's no discrimination. Of course, they're not going to admit to it. Why would they admit to that? That's a lawsuit. But I knew they weren't going to admit to it. So I said, okay, I already knew that. So my next plan was to hit up the EEOC. That's the Equal Employment Opportunity thing. That's equal employment, whatever. I filed a complaint with EEOC. EEOC saw that my complaint was accurate. The EEOC said, okay, your complaint is accurate. You have evidence. You are open to mediation. And so while my EEOC case was being ready, prepared for mediation, the heat just got on. They basically just put the heat on tenfold. And now they were trying to find anything, any little mistake that I made, any little mistake. Before before that, it wasn't like that. But when I put that claim out, they were looking for any reason to get rid of me. And they finally found it. They said, okay, you took your break too long. What were you doing? So one day they got me. I took a break. I took like 5 minutes more on my break because, I was kind of tired, so I took 5 minutes more on my break. And it in the past, it was never a problem, y'all. In the past, it was never a problem. They didn't care. As long as you got your load there on time, that's all that mattered. It didn't, as long as you got to the pickup and the loads and the drop-offs on time, it don't matter. And so when I took that 5 minutes longer, they said, "Oh, you were still in time." That was the fucking reason that they got rid of my ass. That they found was that they said I was still in time because I took 5 minutes longer on my break. So after a year working with JB Hunt, after a year of doing 60 hours a week and only making $1,200 a week, they got rid of my ass. And that happened like last year in October. And ever since then, I haven't been able to find nothing out here, bro. Nothing. Like they're literally, you know, it. The reality is, let me read the comment. The plan was to price out blacks. Yeah, it's real. So basically, the Hispanics got all these jobs on lock. The Hispanics got the whole shit on lock. And if you thinking that you're gonna find a job out here as a black person, whether it's a government job, whether it's a construction warehouse job, whatever it is, they are basically gatekeeping all the jobs out here. They're gatekeeping it, and they are making sure that only they are the only ones that can work in here. So Einstein said the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. I have tried diligently to find work out here, and I'm willing to do anything. Like, I'm at the point where I'm not being picky. I'm applying to customer service jobs. I'm applying to security jobs. I'm not picky. I'm not being picky. But the problem is not me being picky. The problem is there is no work out here, or if there is work, the Hispanics are blocking the shit. They are the managers, they are the supervisors. They are the ones that are in the office staff in the warehouse. And like I explained, even when I told you I was working for JB Hunt, they are the ones that were working in the office. There wasn't no black people in there. And so they are in the government. They got the government jobs. So it's literally, they are blocking us. They are blocking us black folks from getting work. Let me sit down, y'all, because pardon me, I just walked, I just did 5 miles? Yeah, I did a 5-mile walk, y'all. So I just completed my walk. Now I'm about to sit in this car. Y'all gonna sit with me. I'm gonna finish this video, and then I'm gonna get about my day. But yeah, I had a good walk, y'all. Good walk. It was a good walk. I'm here. Hold on. Whew. Make sure y'all get your walk in, man. Health is wealth. But the situation is that the Hispanic community, they control the economy out here. They got all the office jobs. They got all the warehouse jobs. They got the construction jobs. They got the government jobs. They got it all. And they are blocking us, black Americans, from getting these jobs. Because how are they doing that? They're getting in, if you guys know anything about the news that's been, like what happened in LA, there was this Latina politician, I think her name was Nuri Martinez, and she was recorded secretly making racist remarks to black Americans, calling the black children monkeys, I believe. And she was recorded, and she ended up stepping down from her position. But she wasn't the only one. And this is the reality. They are in politics. They're blocking out black Americans. They're making sure resources ain't going to black communities. Look what Karen Bass just did. Karen Bass, the current mayor, she not looking out for the black community. She just gave $1 million to homeless for Asian people to solve their homeless problem. Meanwhile, Asian people are not the ones that are homeless in high record numbers. It's black Americans that are homeless in high record numbers. So even the supposedly black mayor ain't doing nothing for black people out here in Los Angeles. So it's a real rough situation for black people in Los Angeles. And you guys may wonder, well, why are you still here? It's not that easy. It's not that easy just to move when you got a family. If it was just me, y'all, if it was just me, I would have been gone. I don't care. I would have gotten this in this car, and I would have said, okay, what state can I go to? And I would have just went there, and I would have lived out of my car. I've done it before. I would have got a gym membership. Planet Fitness is all over the US, and I would have just thugged it out until I figured, find a job or find some work and did it that way, right? But it's not just me. I can't put, other people, the people that depend on me, in that uncomfortable situation with me. If it was just me, I would have been gone. So I know that I have to leave. I know that the way things are going in Los Angeles for me is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. We gonna end up on Skid Row if I don't figure some shit out. We gonna end up on Skid Row. And so I'm trying to find other opportunities in different states, but I'm also considering just leaving the country because I have my passport. My family, we all have our passports, and I have experience being overseas. Not only do I have experience being overseas, she has support for us overseas. So now I'm saying, is it worth it? I've tried my hardest to make it work. I've tried my hardest to find opportunities here. But what Einstein said, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So at this time, maybe I am being insane. Maybe it's time for me to say, okay, this ain't working out. You tried your hardest. You did all you can do. And so sometimes you got to know when to hold them. In poker, you got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. And I think that it might be time for me to fold them, and maybe fold them with the U.S. just period. Because even if I go to another state, would it be more of the same? Because it's gonna either happen like this. Either I get a job opportunity in another state, and then I go to take advantage of that job opportunity, or we just go to another state and we gonna have to live out of hotels and Airbnbs, and that can be very financially draining. But I know at the end of the day that this LA thing ain't gonna work out for me. I was only in LA for a job. That's the only reason why I came to LA, for that truck driving job. Well, that truck driving job has been over for the past 4 months, 5 months, and it ain't nothing else out here. And the only reason why I got that truck driving job is because the hiring decision wasn't made from here in Los Angeles. The hiring decision was made in Arkansas. Because if the hiring decisions would have been made here in Los Angeles, I wouldn't have got that job. Why? Because they're requiring you to know Spanish to get jobs out here. That's how crazy it is now. Now, you are, as an American citizen, a lot of these companies are saying Do you speak Spanish? Do you understand Spanish? And I don't want, this is America. Why should I have to learn Spanish in the country that I'm from, an English speaking country? No, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just saying, hey, it's time to fold them. It's time to go. Whether that's going overseas or whether that's going to another state, I know that I got to go. So with that being said, y'all, hope y'all have a good day. This is your brother Jay International. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and check out some of my other content that I got on my channel. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.